Hey everyone, today we're going to be doing a video talking to you about the rifle you see here in front of you. This is one of the Century CA-3s. These are made from Portuguese G3 kits that were imported into the US by Century Arms. Full disclosure, Century Arms did send this to me for testing and review. However, this is maybe how it comes, but the way it's been doing a lot of its testing is configured like this. So there's a very specific reason for this that I might get into later on in the video. But this also just demonstrates one of the cool things about the G3, and that is how readily modular they can be, especially with a lot of the modern options out there on the market. So what we're going to do is we're going to just run through real quick how I have this set up, and then we'll dig into why, and then we'll just dig into the overall performance of this thing and whether or not this is something you should consider looking into if you're looking for a classic battle rifle. So starting up front, this is just the standard flash hider that comes on it. I didn't make any changes there. And the rest as we move back is going to be pretty similar in many respects to how you might have seen my old Century C308 setup. Those were based off of the Set Me Model C kits. This is an actual like G3 kit from Portugal. So on the right side here, I have a Streamlight ProTac rail mount, or HLX Pro, whatever all the caveats are for the numbering and lettering, but it's the one that has the dual action tail cap with the button and the tape switch. We've got a Magpul vertical grip. We've got still the actual Portuguese G3 magazine in there. I've got one of the scope rails from Fab Defense, we'll talk more about that later, a SIG Romeo 7 up top, a Magpul trigger housing with their safety in there, and then a Spore stock. Now, the reason I have it set up like this is something that has been living rent-free in my head for quite some time. Many years ago, back when I still had my FAL, I was watching some footage from the Central African Republic of some Portuguese paratroopers who were using G3s in the Central African Republic during a battle to like literally clear mud huts using G3s that were set up very similar to this. Ever since I saw that, I knew that I needed something like that in my life. There was just something cool about clearing like quite literal mud huts with full-size battle rifles, and it was definitely a vibe. And so I got this rifle set up like this, and it's just been a ton of fun. Now, again, as it will come from the factory, it'll have the green, just skinny profile handguard, the original Portuguese trigger housing with that green grip, and then the green stock that kind of drops down at the rear, and no optic rail whatsoever. So depending on what your end goal is, this may or may not be a good option for you. But again, we'll dig a little bit more into that later on in the video. But running it like this thing has been a ton of fun. Now, it is important to note that, you know, even with a Spore stock or anything like that, this is still a G3, and unless you put a muzzle brake on it, and even if you put a muzzle brake on it, the recoil on these things is still pretty stout, but the just incredible durability and reliability of the G3 design is definitely still very apparent in this one. So far, I've got just over 700 rounds through this thing with various types of ammo, and it has been 100% reliable throughout the entire time I've been testing this thing. And again, that's just a testament to the roller delay blowback system that HK designed and has just really demonstrated its capabilities and overall reliability for decades now at this point. Now, it does come with one of the Portuguese FMP G3 mags. This one is from November of 1969. Nice. But it is still compatible with your standard G3 mags. So this is an actual German HK mag, and it will still lock in there no problem. So one of the best things about G3s or HK91s in general is the magazine availability and compatibility, because you can buy these G3 mags, like actual factory German G3 mags, stamped HK and everything, for still, like a couple of years ago it was like under $5 a piece, and they're still under $10 a piece. So it is the cheapest reliable magazine for any rifle that I own, or at least getting closer as the price keeps jumping up. It's getting closer and closer to AR mags, but still extraordinarily cheap for what you're getting. Now, one of the cool things about this rifle versus like the SetMe C308 that I had before is because this came in, and not as a SetMe, but as a HK style G3, I do have that paddle magazine release. If you guys remember on my C308 video, I was talking about having to reach that button magazine release up front. That is not something I have to worry about on this. I did get a paddle installed on that old one, but I don't have to worry about that here. I can just throw that little lever and get the magazine out, no problem. Now again, as I've already demonstrated, it's super easy to swap out furniture on these things. You've just got a couple pins back here, and then at most one pin up front. This Midwest Industries handguard uses a bolt instead of the pin just to keep it rigid to help hold zero. One word of caution there, the recoil impulse again on the G3 style rifles is still fairly violent. Anywhere where you're installing a screw, just go ahead and use blue Loctite. You don't need a ton of it, and I know Midwest Industries says not to use Loctite on certain screws on these things. I hear that, but use Loctite. Anything that you don't Loctite is going to rattle itself loose on one of these rifles. And to that point, one of the things that I ran into with a scope mount is over time, it was just sliding its way forward under that recoil until it literally got stopped by the little shell deflector here on the side. So if you're gonna go with something that you know you wanna have an Opticon, either get a better mount than this or make sure it's tight, or just have someone weld on a rail and call it a day. But again, the G3 is just one of those rifles that is incredibly iconic. It's one of those things that's just very readily identifiable all throughout the world. It's seen combat in almost every war from its inception, including today still being used up until very recently by the Portuguese military. Again, that's where this thing comes from. Sweden is still using them. There's still some countries that are rocking G3 style rifles with a lot of success. More and more we're seeing people move to the intermediate cartridges, but these things are still in existence and still proving themselves to this day. Now, one of the cool things about this is these are also fairly reasonably priced, considering it's a G3 kit from Portugal, not some, SetMe parts kit or anything like that. These things are coming in, at least as of the time of this video, sometimes well under $1,000. I've even seen these things right around $700, which again, for effectively a military G3 that was imported as a kit and then put together here in the US by Century Arms, that's pretty damn good. Very, very reasonably priced. And I know that that price will not last forever. Once those things dry up, people who want to get into a G3 HK91 style rifle are going to be clamoring for those things. And again, in my case, given that I was fancying building a G3 after a Portuguese paratrooper, getting a Portuguese G3 was just that little icing on top. Now, I will also say the Spore stock, again, is something I wanted to get. It's something where I've heard from a lot of people, oh, once you get that Spore stock, it totally changes the shooting dynamics of the rifle. It makes it so much nicer to shoot, so much tamer. Wasn't really my experience with this. It is, I guess, a little bit better, but not fantastic. Even with a reduced recoil impulse, you're still shooting a roller delayed 308. So it's still gonna push you around a little bit, but nothing proper shooting mechanics can't manage. For anyone who's curious, this is one of the Haley Strategic D3XR whatever heavy rigs, so it holds the 308 mags, which again holds these G3 mags in just fine. And I've got some of the 308 mag pulls on the bottom of them just to make them a little bit easier to grab, and again, just add to that aesthetic. But if you're more of a Heat fan, you can set it up to mimic what Val Kilmer was using in Heat. If you're just the classic G3 fan, you can just keep it with the classic furniture that comes on it. But again, with just the pushing of a couple pins, you can totally reconfigure it, make it look totally different, and it's just a really neat system to be using. To me, I prefer it over the FAL style rifles. They're just more accurate, and I have found to be more reliable. Is it going to be replacing a AR-10 for me? No. To me, AR-10s just add a little bit more in the way of ergonomics and just the ability to suppress them a little bit more easily and just a little bit more user configurable. Although in some cases they are still not as reliable or possibly even as accurate as this thing. So if you're looking for a go-to battle rifle that you can have for under $1,000 with mags and everything else, this is a really, really compelling option. If you're looking for a really nice shooting experience with something that you have a little bit more modularity with, then I would recommend saving up your shekels and getting something in the AR-10 family. But obviously you can do with that information what you will. But I do think it is worth noting that these things are currently available. They are exceedingly reasonably priced. And so the store where I used to work, I was in there and they had a couple CA-3s in stock. Don't ask me how this happened, but we were taking one apart just to look at it, just to see the condition of the parts. One of the ones we pulled apart had an HK bolt carrier group. Don't know how that happened, but it was actually stamped HK. My best guess is that it got serviced by the Portuguese military at some point and they used an HK part instead of a FMP part. But that was kind of neat. Obviously, I'm not guaranteeing that if you buy one of these, you're going to get HK parts in yours, but just something worth noting. Obviously, you're going to get varying qualities, varying conditions, just due to the fact that you are dealing with, you know, old rifle kits. So kind of a neat thing. Again, I know these things will not last forever, but a really, really neat option on the market. And again, it's one of those things where in a couple of years, they're going to be significantly more expensive if you can even find one. So do with that information what you will. I think it's neat. I think it's worth having one of these in your arsenal, at very least because it looks good on a wall no matter what configuration you have it in. But again, I'm not getting rid of this thing. It's just too neat, it's too cool, and it just has that little bit of history drip, and again, just matches with my Portuguese paratrooper fantasy and LARP that I like to do. So anyway, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, go and throw those in the comment section down below. If you have experience with one of these, definitely throw that in as well. I always like to get as much experience as I can with rifles, whether it's just so you can avoid having a sample size of one. If other people can leave their results, that just gives you as a viewer a little bit more to go off of. I want to say thanks to my patrons for helping to make a video like this one possible. While Century did provide this rifle, I obviously added everything to it, including all the ammo to run through it. So because of their contributions, it makes it a lot easier to do things like this. So because of that, I post all my content over there early. We do monthly live streams. We do some behind the scenes content. So if any of that stuff sounds interesting to you, or you just want to financially support the channel, go ahead and follow the links down in the description below. But anyway, with all that being said, as always, I hope you got something out of this video, and I really appreciate you watching.